Hello, Oregon. Troy Pickard, landlord-tenant attorney. I'm coming to you from the streets of inner Northeast Portland. And I've got some information for you about the state of tenants' rights in Oregon during this COVID-19 pandemic. So we've got three important things to talk to you about. First, we've got the court closure. Second, we've got the statewide new rules. And third, we've got some local rules that apply to Multnomah County. Okay, first things first. Statewide, courts are basically closed for eviction cases right now. We are not sure when they might reopen. It could easily be mid-April, even the end of April before courts are open, maybe even longer than that. So as long as the courts are closed to eviction cases, it really doesn't matter what kind of eviction case you might be dealing with. Those cases are not moving through the court right now. Second, we've got a what has been called a ban on certain eviction cases statewide from Governor Kate Brown. However, that is a really misleading way of describing what the governor did, and I'm going to set you straight. The governor has not banned any kinds of evictions. Landlords under state law still have all the abilities to file the same kinds of evictions and use the same kind of termination notices that they always have. The only thing that on a statewide level landlords are at all inhibited from doing right now is landlords cannot get the sheriffs to help them force the tenant out of the home after the end of an eviction case, which, if the tenant won't leave, is what is necessary to get the tenants out. You've got to have the sheriff come in and physically force somebody out who won't leave. So what the state ban does not do is it doesn't stop landlords from using termination notices to end a tenancy. It doesn't stop landlords from filing an eviction case in court. It doesn't stop landlords from winning the eviction case and getting a judgment against their tenants. But it does push the pause button on the landlord's ability to have the sheriff come out and physically remove the tenants if the eviction case was for non-payment or if the eviction case was based on a no-cause termination notice. If it was based on something else, the sheriffs will still be able to get those tenants out as soon as the case is over and the regular steps are followed. And even if it is a non-payment case or a no-cause case, as soon as the statewide moratorium on the sheriff involvement is lifted, then the landlords are going to be able to schedule the sheriffs to come right out and kick those tenants out the door. So tenants need to be really careful. There are way fewer protections at the statewide level than recent news reports have made it seem like. Okay, then third, we do have some good news in that there are cities and counties that are giving tenants additional protections. So for example, in Multnomah County, we've got some really important additional protections for tenants that have substantially lost income due to the COVID-19 pandemic. But not all tenants are entitled to that relief, and it doesn't come automatically. You've got to have two critical things. So assuming for a minute that you or someone in your family has suffered a substantial loss of income due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the first thing you've got to do is you have got to let your landlord know about your inability to pay on or before the date that the payment is due. So for most people, rent is due on the 1st. We don't care about late fees. We don't care about when rent is technically late or when the landlord can charge a late fee. We don't care about when the landlord issues a notice for non-payment of rent. All we care about is when the payment is due. Now again, for most tenants, rent is due on the 1st. So you've got to let your landlord know of your inability to pay on or before the day that the payment is due. If you can do that, and if you also give your landlord documentation or some kind of objectively verifiable information about your income loss, then you are protected from the landlord being able to file an eviction case against you in court for non-payment, at least temporarily. The kind of documentation that we're talking about that you might have to give to your landlord could include a letter showing that you've been fired from your job because of the pandemic. It could be something showing that your business where you work has been closed or that you've lost clients or customers because of the pandemic. It could be something like you had to stay home from work because you have to take care of a kid who's not able to go to school right now because schools are closed. There's a lot of different kinds of documentation that could work there, but you've got to be able to give that to your landlord along with a notice that you are unable to make the payment on or before the day that the payment is due. If you can do that, again, you will be protected from the landlord taking you to eviction court right away for non-payment. However, this doesn't mean that you don't owe the money. You still owe your landlord whatever rent, utility charges, whatever like that is due, you're still going to owe that. But at the county level, if you qualify for this relief, the county will basically push the pause button on your obligation to actually pay that money to the landlord. And when the pandemic is over and the county's order is gone, you will have a period of 6 months to get all that money paid back to your landlord. So these are far from perfect protections for tenants. You've still got to be really careful. The best thing you can do is to keep yourself informed, so be sure that you're paying attention to the news. You can always go to the Oregon Community Alliance of Tenants website. That is oregoncat.org. Community Alliance of Tenants is a fantastic resource for tenants all across Oregon. And of course, you can go to my firm's website, portlanddefender.com. We make bad landlords sad landlords, and we've been protecting tenants across Oregon for about a decade now. So if you're having a landlord-tenant problem, feel free to get in touch with us or get in touch with the Community Alliance of Tenants. In the meantime, please stay safe.